Yeah,
All right,
I just keep
hello
it steady on
everybody.
the
Welcome
magic.
back to
Do
the
my thing, I'm
Uprooted
healing, it's
podcast.
fantastic.
Yeah, we're gonna just have
If I
some
fall,
good
rise
conversation
automatic.
about some good
You ain't
topics
on
with some
that,
good
you
people.
know. I'm the one raise myself like a tree from the roots. West side girl, cause she lit in the coast. East side girl when she speaks to the roots. Stay 100 cause she on with the truth. Been there on struggle, know that it pass. Only going up, yeah, the pain don't last. Ooh, take off. Ooh, take off. Ooh, take off. This is take off. Shorty like Brandy, fight like Monica. What you know about her? Baby girl rising, wet at the top. Shaking the world, don't expect her to stop. Purpose so great, she get what she got. Follow her step, cause she following God. What you need more, got a heart full of gold. Even at times when it's raining and cold. Ooh, she bout take off. Ooh, she bout.
Hey, y'all. It's your girl Hannah, aka Ruta, and welcome back to the Uprooted podcast and your weekly installment of Black Women Wednesday. Today, I'm going to be joined by the beautiful Eden. Y'all know her as Eden the Foodie. Some of y'all are part of her Black Foodie community, and I'm so excited to have her on, y'all. Like, she's really, really dope, and I'm so just pumped to introduce her to y'all. Yeah, y'all, it's gonna be a fun one. This is gonna be a fun one. What's up, y'all? How's your Wednesday? How y'all doing? Okay, y'all ready? Y'all ready? We just gonna wait for edit in a second, but listen, y'all. Listen, I have been gardening all day. I'm actually really proud of myself. Hey, Dr. T. Hi, Sione. Yo, I'm just saying I'm proud of myself. I was gardening, y'all. I got these flowers up. You know, your girl's over here working on her green thumb. And I was just like, you know what? You doing it. You doing your damn thing. So I don't know what y'all are doing on your Wednesday, but I hope it's amazing. Do me a favor, send this to at least 5 of your friends. We want to make sure we get everybody here. Peace and tigger. She said pose, y'all. I said, all right. So, okay, I see you, Ed, and let me go ahead and bring you on. I'm really cracking up, y'all, because Peace and Tigray be cracking me up. She gets the best screenshots of my face, the best.
Hey,
Hey, how are you, Ed?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Of course. Do you notice the music I have for you?
I did. Thank you for knowing what I like.
I listen in, okay? When the queens tell you what they want, I listen, okay? You said you wanted that. I was gonna say okay.
You know my heart. Shout
Yes.
out for everybody who knows. You guys already know right now. But thank you for having me on this live, and shout out to everybody who's joining right now. You guys need to be tuning into Uprooted podcast. It's dope. You're gonna learn more about the culture, learn about our journeys, and there's been lots of great women so far. So I'm blessed to be a part of it.
Aw, thanks, Ed. I was like, I'm supposed to do this whole introduction. Look at you trying to introduce and do I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. This First of all, I really want people to really understand who you are because you're hilarious, and I don't think enough people know this about you. I'm guessing most people know you as Ed the Foodie, and they understand that you do Black Foodie, but I don't really think anyone actually knows more than that. So, why don't you take a second, let them know who's Eden, kind of just introduce yourself to people who might not know you or for some reason don't know your story yet.
Sure. Hey everyone, my name is Eden, and I love food. I love to eat. I love to show people what I'm cooking and really explore Black food culture. So that's what I do in my business, Black Foodie. That is a platform and agency that is committed to celebrating Black food culture, creating opportunities for folks in the food industry, and creating really amazing content. Outside of that, I love to laugh. I don't know if a lot of people like to freestyle. I like to play pranks. I'm really into comedy, and I don't know if I get to show that side a lot on the internet, but I think the people that know me know that I'm all about laughter behind the scenes.
Yes. No, I'm gonna manifest that for you because
Thank you.
it is hilarious. And I think once people see both those worlds collide, Oh my God. I'm here for it. I was in tears last night. And so I was just like even more jazzed to have you on because I was like, okay, y'all, like she's too dope and people need to know her. So you didn't say in the story. So you in
Yeah.
your origin story for Black Foodie, you created this how long has it been?
Since 2015, so over
Jesus.
years now. And I started this because I went out to eat for my birthday with a group of Black women, and we just got treated like trash, and it really bugged me. Like it upset me, and I knew that that wasn't okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to change the way I ate out and start going to Black restaurants and learning more about my own food and about East African food and Jara, like all of these things that I was like familiar with and I enjoyed, but I didn't actually truly understand. So
Yeah.
that's what set me on the journey.
Listen, I resonate with that. I think I told you once my aunt actually put me onto your page because she was looking for that, like what you had created, and I hadn't even seen really like any house shots in that space. So
Mm-hmm.
like she was like Black Foodie, so I'm thinking, okay, cool, Black Foodie. Like, I didn't really think that far into it, and then I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, this the culture, like, and it was really dope. And so I had been following you forever. I don't even think I realized that we would ever cross paths in the way that we have. So that's been interesting, and I want to get into that. But I just think that's so dope. So you've been doing this for you're gonna celebrate 6 years anniversary, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
Consistency, y'all. Like, first of all, that's the first gem because that's not easy to do at all. So when you say like you started this community, what I really want people to understand is like you took a huge risk on yourself. This wasn't like something that was widely popular, especially being from our backgrounds. Like no East African parent is going to tell you to go make a career on the internet. Like they're not going to tell you to do that. So I know you had to go over something, like some hurdles.
Definitely. You know, my parents at the beginning, they were really trying to get me to go do my master's. I had essentially like applied to a graduate program and got accepted, and I couldn't afford it. And so I took some time off and I got into another like program, but it wasn't like a formal graduate certificate program. And so I was just kind of like trying to figure out my way, but I knew that I was really interested in entrepreneurship and I knew I wanted to do something creative. I didn't know it was going to turn out like this. But definitely at the beginning when I said, I want to make money on the internet doing things with Black food, everybody like looked at me like you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about? How are you going to do this? Because there aren't many, this is still relatively new. You know what I mean? Like when we were in school, YouTube didn't exist, you know, until, so, you know, Instagram wasn't even a thing. Blogging, content creation, influencer, like all of these terms were not familiar. These are new things that we are now doing in this space. And I think like beforehand, like there were chefs, there were people on TV, there are people that wrote books and they were able to create a life for themselves in this industry. But it was like kind of like being a pro athlete, like only a few get to that stage. So you got to have a lot of self-belief to think you can make it. And with the internet now, it's kind of like made a space for all of us. Like you could really carve out your own lane.
Exactly. Okay, so I've been trying to break this down and explain this over and over to people, right? Like the athletes, the models, the whoever, like they built their platform the long way. Like they, they got to where they're at. And that's why it's easy for them to get on the internet and like the next day have 1 million followers, right? But if you're grassroots, like I'm a year down, okay? So I'm still grinding, but it's when you're grassroots and you're doing it yourself, like every follower, every like, person that joins your community is a win, right? Like you got to earn that. And it takes a little longer, but that also means the people who fuck with you really, really do. Like, and they enjoy your content, and you're obviously serving a community that's underserved, right? Like that's not a market that existed for any of us. There wasn't people who cared to like do any of that, and you're able to show proof of concept, right? And like that's how you're able to grow and build. And you don't have to be the superstar athlete to like make a life that you can live. You know what I mean? You don't have to do the 9 to 5. Because I myself, we've talked about this. I just can't sit there. It's mind boggling. Like, it's so hard. But then it's also really hard on the other side, because the discipline is what I want to come back to, right? Like, to do this, to be the creative, to be the administrator, to be the background production, to wear all the hats and to do it all by yourself at first, and like be the only one maybe who's really understanding the vision is really hard. So you kind of had to push through that and get through that. And then what was it like to try to find that consistency and like the ups and downs of the journey? Like, were there certain people that were helpful and supportive, or like was there somehow that you were learning those like big lessons and able to bounce back?
Yeah, at the beginning when I was just starting off on my own, it was definitely difficult because essentially I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So like I understood people could make money off of the internet, you know, and create content and do something, but I didn't know how to connect the dots. I didn't know how they built a large community. I didn't know how they pitched brands. I didn't know how they got on their radar. I didn't know how they monetize. Like, there was just so much that I didn't know. So I had to do a lot of learning and like try to take some online courses, like look at folks who were at the stage that I wanted to be at, and like look at their steps, like what were they doing to get to where they were at. So there was like a big gap in knowledge that I had to like get a hold of and learn. But then I also needed to, you know, be able to put myself out there. So with Black Foodie, I'm not a chef. I was not trained in this, but I had tons of experts around me, like starting with the women in my family. So my aunts and my mom helped me a lot. And then eventually, like I started connecting with chefs, and they allowed me to come into their kitchen and start recording. And just like, you know, restaurant owners would take a shot on me and let me like, you know, host an event in their restaurant space. And like, from there I stared growing. Shout out to my cousin in here.
I know. I was like, I know you're gonna come with a fan club, because the way sometimes my mentions, like, or when people are like, "Ooh, yes," like I know when they want who they want. So
yeah, thank you to everybody who's listening. And so I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but essentially there was a knowledge gap, and I definitely needed to rely on favors. Like I had to ask people in my community to like help me out and teach me. And then thankfully I also connected early on with like 2 other Black women who were really interested in food and interested in Black Foodie, and were just down to do it. So they are part of my team, and I work with them now. So like definitely the success of Black Foodie, it's not a one-man show. It's the 3 of us that are like pushing this forward. I'm sort of like the face of it, but I was able to connect with people who had skills I don't have. Like, I'm not a very organized person. I'm not a very timely person. You know what I mean?
Listen, I'm laughing because I'm the same way. So, like, I know.
You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to find people who have those strengths that you lack. So I was able to find folks. Like, I really enjoyed learning new recipes, creating content, interviewing people. I could easily like connect with new people, and I just have this like curiosity about me, so that I can go to a new city, not know anybody, and be like, I'm here, I have a camera, boom. Like that stuff is fun for me. But some of the more administrative stuff, the technical stuff, like the day-to-day, it's not always fun. And so it's really nice to be able to have the support, and also like the strategy and the skills that the 2 folks on my team brings to the table.
Listen, so I hope everybody's paying attention, because this is what I always tell people too. Black women will teach you the world if you listen, right? Like, there was some gems in there I want to break down for the people in the back who don't be listening sometimes. So the first thing was, one, like the self-awareness of knowing where you're strong and where you're weak, right? Like, I myself, we talked about this, I myself am like, bro, because sometimes I'm in the idea generation and I'm like, oh my God, and we could do this, and I get really excited in that space, but then I have to sit down and actually do it. And like finding your own rhythm when there's not a boss that is like setting your schedule for you it sounds really cool at first, like, I'm my own boss, and then you're like, damn, I'm my own boss. Like, I have to do this. Like, yes, I want to go have fun and do all of those things, but I have to be accountable to myself. And like, that's a super hard lesson. And then having people who are dope, who believe in your vision. I don't know if this is something you experience. I don't know if I asked you this, but for me, it's like I just started. I have a team that's going to be starting soon. So I'm really excited about that. And there was also a moment, it took me a minute to get there, where I was like, wait, this has been my baby. I have been like birthing this. I have been like solely in charge of this whole time, right? And now it's like I'm welcoming people into that world and like trusting them with that, but like baby as well. So was there any like moment of hesitation there? I'm kind of asking as a personal question, but I'm sure it'll help the audience too.
Um, yeah, there was definitely some hesitation at the beginning. The interesting thing is like the two folks that I work with, their names are Ellen and Kemma, shout out to them. I didn't actually know them. We didn't grow up together. I met them specifically through Black Foodie. So it was cool because like they were truly invested in the vision. They weren't just doing me a favor because they were my friend, because I definitely like had cashed in all my favors. I made my sister work the door at events. You know, I made like a cousin, you know, collect the plates. Like, you know what I mean? Like I recruited my friends and family for everything, but that only goes so far. You got to find folks that are actually invested in the vision and actually passionate about what you're doing. So I think maybe that's what made it a little bit easier to trust them, because like they were about it, you know.
Listen, that part. Okay. That made me, not that I feel like I got over that, but I felt like I went through something similar, and that made me feel better knowing I'm not crazy for feeling that way. Like there is like a moment of like, oh, okay, hold on. Like this is also like a new role for, you know, like working on a team and like managing, you know, wait, I don't know you. How do you like to work? Right. And like that understanding and creating that for yourself. Cause again, there's no structure.
Yeah.
So I keep saying that because I want people to understand entrepreneurship, the risk taking, all of this doesn't always come with the structure ready to go. And so you have to be willing to be uncomfortable a lot, like, and not know things a lot and be willing to stay in that space. Because you said some things like actually being okay going out there and putting yourself out there and like being by yourself. That's not an easy thing to do. Like, that is something you kind of got to build that muscle at if you're not already good at it. So that's super dope. And I kind of want to tie that into now, like this has grown into something much bigger, right? Like you are in a really good position now in terms of like understanding who you are and like what you want to do with your space. And you know, now it's just scaling, right? And it's like, how do I build and grow out? So in this like newer phase, you were hit with something big. All of us were hit with something big, right? Because the thing that we love to do is connect to our roots and our culture and our history. You do it through food, I do it through people and like the healing journey. And we both kind of were like, oh, we're connecting the whole diaspora. And then it's like, okay, cool. Now the whole diaspora is at war. Like in terms of East Africa, and like specifically being from Tigray, like it just like there was such a hard transition and a pause in our own personal lives, and then trying to mix those two worlds. So for you, can you speak to, as comfortably as you can, like what that transition has been like for you?
Yeah, it was really hard. I think, you know, I wasn't born in East Africa. And so, you know, my experiences were like family trips or work trips. And, but I still felt this connection that is like really hard to explain. And so I remember getting a text about, you know, their fighting was about to begin in Tigray, and immediately I was in tears. I didn't even know how to explain it. Like I just immediately, like I could not go back to focusing. And I had a shoot. I had to do a recipe. It was an Ethiopian recipe for some, like a pretty big platform. And it was something simple. It was something that I've made several times before, and I just didn't do it. Like I started looking at the ingredients. I was so upset. And like every time I was going back to this recipe, I was just like thinking about the people that don't have access to food, about the people that are hungry right now, about the little kids that have the exact same name as me, and who I very much could have been in their position, who are suffering right now for no reason. Like, you know what I mean? And I couldn't get over it. It was hard because a lot of people associate me with Ethiopian food and this pride in the culture and the community and the love that I have often experienced. But I went from like getting that love to having, you know, the most hateful messages in my DMs that I've ever received. And I got some pretty horrible white racists that were in my DMs. So to get even worse messages from people who look exactly like me and who come from the same country as my family was like super tough. It wasn't something I was used to on that level. Like I was used to, you know, of course people can be petty and say that's how you make injera or
yeah, the aunties are real critical. Okay.
Yeah, like they could be critical and I'm like, that's fine, but this was on a next level. So essentially I would say it was really hard because I didn't know how to communicate now with folks who didn't fully understand the situation back home. And I also needed to protect my energy because folks are coming and, you know, they wanted me to be something. Like in their mind, I'm their enemy. And I'm just like, no, I'm here trying to help people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it still is like a transition period. I'm still trying to figure it out, you know, how I can be helpful, how I can help folks in Tigray and everywhere, like who need it, and stay true to like my values, you know what I mean? Like, because I'm not gonna, I'm gonna speak up. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that it's not happening. And unfortunately, that's happening a lot. Like, a lot of folks are ignoring the reality.
That's 100% facts. And there was some gems in there too, in terms of like, this just being a very personal thing, right? Like, I feel like because you're often behind the screen for folks, right? And like there's sometimes like detaching like personal feelings from this. It's so hard and it's so like difficult to still be the human being behind the screen and understand the attacks coming at you are not for you, right? Like, because the attacks that are coming at you are for what you represent. And like, unfortunately, what you represent is somehow deemed threatening to people, like enough for them to want to attack you. And it's just like, that is what I feel like also disengages people, and like, like they don't want to speak up and they don't want to deal with like that. And it's like, yo, people are dying. Like, you know what I mean? Like the last part you're saying is like, people are dying. Like, who,
Yeah.
you know, it's uncomfortable, sure, right? But it's even worse if you don't say anything, because then it's like you're silencing, and you're just like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're silencing all of those people, and they're already being oppressed. So it's so hard. And so I wanted to honor you, because I know that that is not easy on the level of like the volume that you get. Like, it's easy for me to be like, it's one or two comments, like who cares, right? But if you open your phone and you wake up to your phone and it's like 100 whatever notifications and all of them are negative, that's a lot of negativity coming your way. So I wanted to like, at least like, let's not gloss over that. Like, that's a big thing. And especially as a Black woman, I feel like the words that are used for us are usually a very personal attack. Like, it has nothing to do with what you're saying. It has nothing to do with any of those things. It is like a very personal attack on you as a Black woman. And so I want to make sure that like, we don't gloss over that. And so if you're watching this and you see those things, Eden gotta protect her energy. So if y'all could just help us, because y'all be in there trolling and stuff, and just, you know, you just go ahead and like, maybe not reply, but report or something, just so like to minimize some of that, or just stand up for it when you see it, because we need to keep and protect your energy for you too, because what you do and how you represent our community, and like, even just giving Black people in this world like a space to be seen and like to preserve our culture. I just don't want, like, I don't ever want people to discourage that. And I want us as a community to stand behind you. So this is my ask of the community. So like, yeah, please, 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 please.
I appreciate that. I think like something that I've learned right now is like, the reason why folks are maybe like pushing so hard against me speaking up about what's happening in Tigray or fundraising for Tigray or any of those things is because, you know, there's an effort to silence, and by DMing folks, by just making life difficult for folks, I think there is this assumption that, okay, we're going to shut them out. We're going to make it so uncomfortable for them to speak up about Tigray. We're going to gaslight. We're going to do all these things so folks will shut up and take it. And obviously our community does not do that, and the allies. So I think it's because we're all driven by a love for our people, for people in general, like for humanity. Mm-hmm. Whether or not somebody is from Tigray specifically, they deserve to live. Children deserve to have food. Women deserve to feel safe. People should not have the fear of being raped because they want to get a meal for their family. This is not acceptable, and this should be this shouldn't even be debatable. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, speaking up for kids eating food should not be controversial at all. It should never, ever be a subject that could be debated. There's no what if, there's no but, you know, they deserve it. And speaking up for those people that are innocent in Tigray who are suffering does not take away from people that have been suffering in the past or other parts of Ethiopia where there is suffering. That does not mean that we don't acknowledge it. So, you know, I think the folks who come into our DMs, like it's gaslighting at its best. Oh, yeah. Very hateful. And so I'm not going to give that energy, and I will not be silent, and neither will our peers or all of the women, you know, in our circle, because we're all we got, you know what I mean? So I wanted to preach for a little bit.
Yes, they were saying, well, this a whole sermon. They're like preaching. Our tribe's definitely in here. They in the comments. I know you see them with the clapping emojis. They're here for it. And I listen, when I say that last part, the women that we organize with, the women that we rock with, listen, we in this for the long haul. This is a marathon, and we're builders. We've been building, and now it's just like, y'all just gave us something else to focus on. Like, you know, all of us have been focused. All of us have been doing our thing. Black women have been doing their thing. Like, from the beginning. Who do you guys think, like, saves humanity every time? Every single time. Like, come on. Like, you know, I don't know how many times it could be more obvious that Black women are always saving the world. But I think we just don't take enough credit for it. So, like, I'm on a personal mission. That's why I do this. And that's why I love having people like you on to, like, yo, you're going to do it in whatever lane you're in. Like, I also don't get why trolls think it's going to work. You literally celebrate food. Our people are in a famine. What did you think? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what did they think you were going to do? Did they think you would be able to sit comfortably, like, with that? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just can't. That's what I laugh at, personally. I'm like, y'all are interesting.
I don't know. I try not to. I'm trying not to, like, get into their head because it, like, goes, like, down a dark path. Yeah. You know, I think some folks, you know, have been, they're getting their source of information that tells them that this is untrue, and they choose to believe that. But for people who have family members or, like, you know, friends who have family members, they know that this is very real, and there's no reason to make this up. You know what I mean? Like, people are advocating from a place of love and because of their genuine concern for their family members. So I forgot where I was going with that, but, like, essentially we're out here for a reason, and it's driven by love, and a love for people, especially for me, for children. Like, when I went to Ethiopia, I had the blessing to, like, travel through a large amount of the country and go to the south and go to different villages. And, like, honestly, like, there's so many kids that I met along the way, and they were so sweet and, like, so smart, and just, like, they all deserve to have a good life. You know what I mean? They all deserve to feel safe. They all deserve to have their parents in their home and not feel afraid and not be harmed. So I really hope that people tuning in, like whether or not they have roots in Tigray, that they have that level of humanity for everyone, you know?
Yeah. Okay, well, you know I'm a sensitive Sally, so that touched me. Again, that's why I said, like, if you do food, right? Like, but also you understand what food means to our people, right? Like, we have a love for it, a deep and profound connection to, like, the earth, the food that we grow. Like, our people are farmers. You know what I mean? Like, the majority of our people are farmers. Like, we're literally in the soil. Like, we are connected to it, and it's such a, I don't know, like, what is that like for you? Because I have, like, you know, I love it from that side, the cultural side, growing up with my mom and stuff, but you actually delve into it, and like, you understand how people relate to it. So can you if you're comfortable, kind of like relate to that love of our food and our culture and how it's being weaponized, and like why that is such a, like why that is calling us to act? Like, I guess that's the connection I make.
Sure. So when I like would talk about Ethiopian food, like back in the day, like sometimes, you know, you'd hear jokes like, you know, oh, you have food, or oh, I was super skinny growing up. So like, you know, I got teased for being a skinny or starving Ethiopian or whatever. And what I did not understand, like, was the context. I knew that there was a famine in the 80s. I knew that people didn't have food, but that's pretty much all I knew. I didn't know where it happened. I didn't know why it happened. I just assumed it was like a natural disaster. But as an adult, and especially now, given the context of what's going on in Tigray, I learned that these were like by design, you know, like food was weaponized, access to food was weaponized. And the reason why people starved to death was not because there was a lack of food in this world. It was because, you know, different political groups, you know, wanted to weaken their opponent. And so in order to weaken their opponent, they, you know, would starve the whole population. And it didn't matter how many innocent people died in the process. And in this case, in the 80s, I believe it was like 1 million people who died from lack of food. And now that I know that context, it drives me to like do more and speak up more for the folks who are starving today. And not because we don't have money that we can't send them food, or that there isn't like a community that's there to support them. It's because the humanitarian aid is being blocked. This is like by design. You know, people don't starve just because. They starve because they're being starved. There's somebody on the other end of the table deciding that they don't deserve to have food, you know? So in terms of like now the way that I look at food, and when I speak about Ethiopian food, I try to educate people and let them know, like, this is the circumstances, you know, like think beyond those stereotypes and learn a little bit about the history and why this is happening, and speak up for the folks who need it, you know. But so something that I have done is just like take the food content that I have and the recipes and try to like teach folks in it, like through TikTok videos, and tell them, hey, you love Ethiopian food? I'm so glad you go to these restaurants. Like, but did you know, like, there's a whole group of people who don't have food, that can't even eat this injera, that can't afford it because they can't get to their bank, or they can't farm, you know, the seeds that they have. There are so many things that are happening to completely wipe out a people that just should never ever happen.
Listen, I appreciate it. I appreciate that you're able to make that connection and like put that out there for people, because our food has become widely popular now, right? Like, you've been able to see it up close. Like, before, you didn't see us very often. Like, you didn't see Ethiopian anywhere. Definitely not seeing Tigray, right? So now it's like, you know, people are becoming more health conscious. So you're seeing like people becoming vegan and like, you know, experimenting with different types of food. Our food tends to be very popular for those crowds. Like, they sell F in the grocery store now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I've seen F, I've seen Berbera, I have seen all these different things. And it's so dope because people who know you for that, right, like outside of our community, are able to learn in a non-aggressive way, right? Like it's not like in your face, like, yo, you should be mad, because sometimes that does not work.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate you being able to get into an industry and speak to an audience that we don't always readily have available to us. So I think what you're doing is dope. I know it isn't easy and it's hard to put yourself out there, especially for something that you have built up. Like you've built this thing up from like the ground, and you know what comes with speaking up. Like you're going to get retaliation, you get the trolls, you get all of that, and like to still stand strong in that, like I want to like take time to pause and honor that and highlight that for the folks, because that's not easy to do. That's a lot of information. That's also a lot of weight to carry because you're still personally affected by it. Like this is not like somebody from outside the community doing this work for us. It's like you doing it with the intention because you care and like you have the heart for it. So I want to just take a second to say that because I know it isn't easy, especially because we have been going hard at all the other platforms and people who have not been like using their voice in the same way. I choose not to tear things down. I just like to build up the people who are doing well. And so I wanted to take that second. So,
Sure.
okay, I thought that was a question in there, but that is not. Okay, cool. You know, I'll be trying not to ignore them. Because there are times where they will get mad if I ignore their questions. Okay, perfect. So the other thing I wanted us to kind of get into a little bit is your comedy. I'm trying to manifest this into your life. And I need people to know that you're hilarious.
Thank you.
And I don't know how to manifest this for you. I hope everybody in the comments will encourage you. And I'm trying to manifest you directing some of these funnier like skits. Like, is there a way that the crowd can encourage you? Like to do that?
I just do this for fun. Listen, I like you already know Clubhouse Housewives of Better Hills.
You know?
Funny thing me and my cousin came up with a couple of years ago because I have really funny aunties, and we would just record the funny moments that we were having if they were getting ready to go out, you know, a night on the town. And we brought that to Clubhouse and did some like live skits. You know, that was pretty fun. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to everybody else who was in it. But yeah, I don't know. I think laughter is the best medicine. I enjoy laughing. Whenever I'm in Atlanta, I go to comedy clubs. I will make sure me and my family sit in the front because I want to get roasted. Like it's part of the experience. I think everybody should get roasted at a comedy show at least once.
Oh man, you're brave.
Yeah, I enjoy roasting folks. So I don't have any jokes on hand, but it's not necessarily you know, connected to what I do at Black Foodie, but it is a part of me. I really love to laugh. So, you know, if you guys have funny skits or whatever, hit me up.
Listen, I just had to like, I want to manifest that, and I had to just bring it into the universe because that when I tell you, I'd be crying behind this. I would be crying behind the screen. I was like, I cannot believe the comedy that be coming out, and like the one-liners, man, you're sharp. Like I don't know what you said yesterday, but it had me on the floor. I said, "Whoa, where did she come up with that one?"
Listen, I had a good crowd. I was ready. I don't know where this came from, but like, if somebody's ready to be roasted, I will be there. I'll be ready for them. You know what I mean? I'll come up with my best lines. But I think it's because like back in the day, literally like me and my cousins and my uncle, we would all like freestyle and just like, you know, go in on each other. It was just a part of the game, and I stopped doing that now because it's not necessarily part of my brand, but I still enjoy it.
I feel like there's still a way. I don't know if it's just my strategy brain, but I'm like, there's a way to connect the two because it's like, it's too good, man. It's too good. They're saying they're waiting for the stand-up show. You're getting encouragement. They said she's too good, y'all.
Shout out to you guys. I know I'm talking about it. I don't have any jokes for you ready today, but come to Clubhouse. That's where we have fun. I think that's why I really love Clubhouse because it allows us to do something else. You know what I mean? It's audio. There isn't a visual part to it. So like sometimes I'll put a food picture in my profile picture, but it's mostly laughs and like advocacy that we do there, and
Yeah.
it's, some prank.
It's a good time. Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good time. We have like here's the other thing I need to tell people. You can't the stuff we do, the work we do, it sometimes can be very draining.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to laugh. So like that's also why I wanted to highlight that, because it is pure comedy. Most nights. Most nights. But we also still help each other. Like we've built like a network of community of people who are doing this stuff, and like we're distant, right? Like we have all been internally displaced ourselves, or not internally displaced, what you call it, uprooted from our homes, right? Like we're all diaspora living in other countries, and like had we not been uprooted, we might actually have known each other this whole time, right? Like we might have actually went to high school together, we might have went to college together, we might, you know what I'm saying, who knows, like who knows, like the connections we could have had. But like the way my faith works is that it still worked out for our benefit, because we're still all here together, and we're still finding those bonds together, like regardless of distance and time, and the fact that we all took different paths. Like there's something core about who we are and like our people and like that indigenous like culture that still like bonds us. And I love that you do it through food. I love doing it through storytelling and like preserving the culture that way. And I don't know, I personally am like, the fact that like we're still able to do what we love to do and like turn it into advocacy is really what I wanted to drive home for people. And I feel like, I hope y'all got that. I hope you also got that you should laugh, that you should be willing to roast people and be roasted. Because that part, I didn't know you sat in the front row, because you know what? It makes sense now. And now it makes sense, because the way like you can take a hit too, because the way you and the old be going out and be cracking me up. And I just like, I'm like, it makes sense though, because you do have to have a level of humility, right? Like, because you're gonna fall on your face, like doing this stuff in public, you're gonna fall on your face a couple times. So I'm glad we can laugh through it.
Yeah.
This one, Cece said, yes, scheduled events. The community wants scheduled comedy events from you, so we don't miss anything like I did last night.
Missed out.
Yeah, I'm sorry, honey.
Clubhouse, we'll set up a schedule. But yeah, no, if you're going to be just like in general, if you're going to have, if you're interested in getting into the content creation space, or like just something where it's internet driven or personality driven, you got to be able to laugh at yourself a little bit. You've got to be able to have a bit of a tough skin, you know, to pull it off. But I am really grateful for the internet, because it connects me to people like you, and to all like the new friends that I've made through Clubhouse or through Instagram or Facebook. And they've become like real life friends, oftentimes in the past with Black Foodie. You know, there's so much that you can do from this space, and it doesn't have to end at just fun. Like you can use your platform for good. You can use it today to stand up for folks in Tigray who are suffering right now. I don't think you have to choose one or the other, and you don't have to look at this as, I'm not into politics. You know, we're all into being humans, you know, like that is the core of it. We are all human beings before we were anything else. You know, our life is a gift, and we should use that to help the folks around us. And right now, folks in Tigray really need us. So I want to emphasize that at the end.
Listen, I love it. So this is how I wrap up all my episodes. I hope you're ready for this question. I hope somebody prepped you. Okay, this is a big question. I'm pretty sure, I feel like you know the answer already, or at least part of it. So what I always ask my guests to end off the show is, what is the legacy that you are hoping to leave on this earth?
Ooh, that's a good.
Yeah. Right? Okay. See, because I've been doing this, and I don't know why it always throws people off, but I just had to, like, you know, legacy. It's a nice, it's like my word. I don't know why now.
I hope that I leave like having created new opportunities and open doors for other folks, especially Black folks, in the food space. And I hope people have a bit more flavor in their life and a bit more joy in their life. I hope that's like the legacy that I leave. And I hope that people remember me for speaking up for what I believed in, and doing that even when it's tough. So I think that's like the legacy that I'd like to leave, but I'm still living, like, right, you know, like, let me say that's my living legacy. That's what I want people to feel at this moment, you know.
Okay. You listen, I like that. Nobody's remixed it like that.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, because they be thinking they have to wait till they gone for it to be achieved. And then usually what I do at the end is validate and reaffirm, you know. But you know what? You already did it for yourself, because you're like, hold on, I'm already living. This is what I'm
Yeah.
This is what I'm leaving already. I'm already leaving this. I'm already doing that. And that is another gem. You're already walking in your purpose. Like, how dope is that? Do you know how many people are walking around in this earth and they are clueless as to what their purpose is? And that is driving them crazy, and they're like unhappy and like just you know what I mean? They're self-medicated. They're going through so much because they're literally trying to figure out, what is my contribution? What am I supposed to be doing? Like, what am I leaving in this earth? And so I am so happy. I don't even have to continue to validate you, because you already know that you're walking in your purpose, that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? Like, that who you are and the light that you bring into that space is already enough. Like, the legacy is already there. Like, I told you, my aunt put me onto you a while ago, you know, like, I didn't even, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know I was going to actually like get to meet you or to create any type of friendship, right? So it's like, that is so dope. Like, you were, not to say you're accessible to everybody, right? Like, let's not say that, but you were accessible in the sense that I am you, you are me. We have the same story. You are also a first generation immigrant. You know what I'm saying? We also, what's even doper is I now know we're from the same place, right? Like, I didn't know that I could do it this way. Like, even though I saw everybody else do it, I didn't see myself. I didn't see myself anywhere in these spaces. So if you needed validation, right? Like, you've already touched me in some way. You've already encouraged me to go down that path. Like, I was helping my aunt try to go down that path because you had inspired her. So already, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's already dominoes over here. Like, you already got people right behind you that are like climbing, and now we're gonna be able to like climb and like support and like be like, yo, she's dope, continue to support her. And like, I get to see a little bit of a blueprint like just right in front of me. So I think you are, I believe that you are, I know that you know that you're living in that, and I'm so excited to just see how you grow and how you continue to. And like, the other thing that I was thinking of earlier today when I was thinking about like this show was, I just kept getting this distinct message of, Eden needs to know that her voice is not at its peak yet. Like, you're still finding it. Like, you're not completely all the way leaned into it. And so whatever doubt is that you're sitting on, whatever has been like the obstacle, maybe it's that you feel like you don't know enough about the conflict, or maybe you don't feel like you're a historian, or you can't speak to certain things, whatever it is. I just kept getting that, like, you need to tell her, let yourself lean into that voice because it's stronger than you realize. And I hope that makes sense to you. I don't usually like do it that way, but I had felt that very strongly all day today. So I wanted to tell you that that's usually what I do. I like to affirm, and I like to validate, and I like to speak into people, especially Black women, especially ones that look like me, that I know the struggle that you go through. And so I hope that you can accept and receive that, and I hope it made sense.
I really appreciate that. I do. Like, honestly, that was a word. I accept it. I think it's a word for a lot of people too, that I know I keep coming back to Tigray, but that, like, no, I'm not a politician, and I didn't grow up there. Do you know what I'm saying? But like, that doesn't change the fact that I care about children, that I care about women, that we care about people being able to live a safe life and have like 3 meals a day, and just like the basic necessities, have joy. Like, these are things that we all should vouch for and like advocate for. So I think a lot of folks are feeling like, oh, you know, I don't want to say the wrong thing, or, you know, these folks are going to come at me and tell me I'm this leaning towards this political group or whatever, and that prevents them from speaking up. But it, you know, forget that. And I'm trying to tell myself that as well. Like, we know why we're doing this. This is coming from a place of love and a place of care for people who need it. And so, yeah, thank you for that reminder to keep going and to just like go past self-doubt and just advocate for folks.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we here. I was like, this is literally, this is my purpose. I'm walking in mine, and it just so happens that it aligns with yours. So I'm here to remind you all the time. You know, we got the tribe in the comments too. We're always here to do that because this is not easy. And you know, thank you for coming on and being exactly like just who you are, and like knowing that was enough and not trying to be extra, because that's it. That's all we need, is just to be a decent human being and just to choose to be a better person every day and just to choose to show up, and you do it so beautifully. So I wanted to like highlight that, you know, for everybody else. So that is Black Women Wednesday. That was the episode. I hope everybody enjoyed. Eden, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate you, Hafte. And like, you know, we're gonna be probably in Clubhouse later. So
Yeah. I'll see you guys.
Talk to you basically. Okay. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Eden, and good night, y'all.
Peace out, everybody.